Hello and welcome to computer class. My name is Dave, and today we are giving you an overview of game systems and the controllers associated with game systems. And so let's get started jumping right into it. What is a game controller? A game controller is a device used with games or entertainment systems to provide input to a video game, typically to control an object or character in the game. And how fun it is to play video games. Honestly, they have become a huge industry with many people paying money to go to arenas to watch people play video games, and it's all because of how awesome the gaming consoles and the uh, gaming controllers have gotten in our modern age. And so that's what the definition of a game controller is. That being said, there are different types of controllers. So there's obviously traditional controllers, but there's also controllers that are basically not really controlled by one's hands, and they're known as sensor controllers because it's how something picks up your motion. For instance, an example of that is the Kinect. It's a line of motion sensing input devices by Microsoft for the Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox X, and on. Um, or video game consoles and PCs that picks up your motion so you can play the game almost like moving one's hands. You could play Fruit Ninja just by slashing, for instance. You could act like you're riding a motorbike and your hands become the controller. And so that's known as a sensor controller. Another example of this would be the Nintendo Switch or Wii U. Their controllers, while it's not just your hands, you actually have something, a sensor in your hand. It's that ability to move something in the air that puts that in the same category as a sensor. It's something picking up your movements in 3D space that makes it a sensor controller, really, at the end of the day. So, again, certain companies have chosen to either do away with the sensors in your hands altogether and just track your hands, and other companies have chosen to actually put a sensor in your hand to make it more accurate of where the tracking of your hands actually happens. Okay, all these fit into the sensor category. I'm going to link two videos down in the description. And what these videos are, they're on the technology behind the Xbox Kinect and how it works. Pretty cool. So go watch those and find out more about the Xbox Kinect. And then I'm going to move on to another sensor controller, the PlayStation's version of this controller. It's called the PlayStation Move, and the Move is a motion sensing peripheral in which in conjunction with the PlayStation Eye camera that allows precise motion controlled video gaming on the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5. Again, this is, you also have to use the wands to kind of track in 3D space, but it's again a sensor controller, not the traditional controller where you use your thumbs like we saw on a previous slide, but kind of like the Wii where it uses sensors to track motion or movement in 3D space. Okay, so here is a video, short clip or an ad about that. I'll link that down in the description. Go ahead and watch that as well. And then let's move on to some game systems now that we've gone through some types of controllers there. The first is a very unique game system called the Nvidia Shield. It's a homey game console developed by Nvidia. I don't think many of you have heard of it. It's the world's first 4K Android TV capable device that also offers 4K gaming, which is pretty cool. What happens is gaming is usually processed on the actual console itself. So someone will be playing a video game and it's downloaded physically on the console, and all the processing is done by the GPU of the console and all of everything that's coming from the actual box. What Nvidia did is they decided that the internet has grown so big at this point and is so capable of handling this, and internet speeds have increased as time has gone on, that they decided to do all the processing in their Nvidia cloud. So servers online handle the processing of the game, and then they deliver that input through your internet connection to this device, which means this device is really just basically a capture device. It's a tiny thing that connects to the server where your game is being rendered and then pushing those frames out to you. So you don't have to have a ton of hardware to actually have this game system. It's this tiny little flat thing that just syncs up with the Nvidia cloud, and everything is delivered 4K. Honestly, gaming is pretty insane. It's all delivered to your TV. So it's a pretty neat forward-thinking type console. It's way ahead of its time, and there are other companies that are trying to do this. Google tried to do something called Stadia, and that's basically the same idea where it's delivering the output of the gaming cloud system to your machine, but that's for computers. Basically, you render a game online and you pay for this subscription and it delivers it to your system. Kind of the same idea, this is a different way of doing it with a specific console. I think it's so cool, and I can't wait to see more of this technology implemented. There's still other people that, and here's a different one, Alienware Alpha, and basically this is a game system designed for the Steam platform. The Valve Corporation has a ton of games in their library, and Dell has kind of linked up with them. So again, Nvidia owns the Shield, Dell owns the Alienware Alpha series, and basically Steam has a huge library of games which you can download on this, and this is known as the Steam Machine, um, and it's where you can play these games that are in the Steam library. Okay, so two very unique systems that are not as well known, but specifically are really cool in the gaming industry, and that's why I'm presenting them first. The third one, obviously, is the PS5, which just is about to be released as of this recording. It's a home video console from the Sony Corporation, um, and it has one of the best controllers on the market, the DualSense. And just a lot to say about the hardware of the PS5 that's coming out. It's going to be an awesome system. The and it's replacing an even cooler system, in my opinion, that has been very successful. The PS4 had one of the best controllers in the world, the DualShock 4, if I could talk. But this system is going to be first class, best of its kind so far, and it's a great product by Sony. So another system that happens to be on the market today. Here is a video clip of some of the previous generation, because we don't have the PS5 out yet, the PS4's features. And then moving on to two more incredibly um, popular game systems. Number 4 is the Xbox Series X, which is a home video game console developed by Microsoft. So again, it's important to remember the systems that are associated with the companies if you were to buy these. So this one's developed by Microsoft. And basically, the new Xbox Series X is nothing more than a giant game console that's kind of like a PC, to be honest. It's the same similar type specs when it comes to hardware. And so you're starting to see this happening. The shift is going from it used to be everybody used a console to game, and now it's kind of all going towards the PC, if you will. And even consoles are taking more of a PC atmosphere on, whereas they used to be more just separated as consoles and computers. Now it's kind of they're all coming together to slowly meld into one, and we will just have basically computers to game on in the future, and consoles are kind of becoming outdated and will one day die, if that makes sense. Of course, there'll always be consoles around for everybody to kind of play as a legacy, like, hey, this is where things used to be. But so I don't think they'll ever be totally gotten rid of. But the idea of the console is slowly dying in the gaming world and more becoming a PC thing, just because it's more accurate to game on a PC. Same is true of the Nintendo Switch, an incredible console by Nintendo, super fun to play, and Nintendo has always been very popular. They came out with some of the coolest systems back in the day that everybody played, and they're still doing that today. Everybody loves the Switch. It's just a very innovative way to play video games, and with the universes that they've created, with the characters they've created, there's no reason to believe that Nintendo won't be around for a very long time, for sure. And here is a Nintendo commercial as well. Real quick, check that out in the description. I'll link it down there. That being said, these systems are released at certain conferences, And also these conferences are for video games. Some of them are tied to specific video games to publicize those video games. And also, it's a place where gamers can gather and kind of get the social atmosphere of gaming. And they're really cool to go to. So, um, some of the conferences that exist, just to give you an overview of this, are the E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo. That's what the three E's stand for. It's the largest show dedicated to video games industry held in Los Angeles. And then GameCon is the biggest video game show in Europe, open to both the industry and the public. And here is a picture of it live. And again, you see Xbox is showing off something that they've created. So you can not only see like video game stuff and new stuff that's coming out, but you also get to look at the and fool around with the old stuff and just be amongst nerds and friends and geeks like you would love to be in that atmosphere on just a higher level, to be honest. More of a showing thing. And then GDC, the Game Developers Conference in San Jose, is where developers share their latest technology and ideas and really put things out there so that people can see what's coming up in the technology that's developing. Minecon is a convention celebrating the game of Minecraft. Minecraft is so big, it's enormous that it literally has its own conference. Like just wrap your mind around that. It's one of those games that started out as an indie game that just got massive, and everybody now officially everyone knows what Minecraft is, and there's such a big following of the game that it's literally an entire convention just wrapped up and following around that video game. Again, really cool how that happened. Then there's PAX East, which is a penny arcade game festival talking about games of the past. So there's a huge conference surrounding that for people that still play the retro games. And then there's obviously a Penny Arcade Expo, which again surrounding legacy games where people get together and link up with people that play those type of games. It's just a huge atmosphere surrounding that as well. I mean, nothing like going back with a blast from the past, you know. And then, what are the careers in gaming if you were to develop yourself into maybe um, being one of these people that becomes, in my opinion, the Avengers of art. To be honest, it's such an incredible process that gamers go through to develop. Well, game developers go through, I should say, to develop these games. They are unbelievable. It's so much easier to create um, a movie than it is to create a video game. There's coding that goes into video game. There is the designers, the programmers, the artists, the audio technicians, the marketers, the testers. There's so many people. There's hundreds of people that go into, even sometimes thousands of people, and hundreds of thousands of man hours that go into making one simple little video game, um, or even these big AAA title video games. There's, so many thousands of hours that go into making these video games. And people spend sometimes, huge chunks of their lives, and that's all they do every day, all day, is make these video games. And so there's a huge industry of careers that has developed throughout the years for people who just create video games. And again, I think they are more talented than people who create movies, in my opinion. It's just an incredible feat that they do, as they have to create these characters that interact in 3D space, or create the bump maps, or lighting maps, or shadow maps, or all of the polygons, and they overlay all of the imagery on top of these polygons that they generate. It's just an incredible feat that they pull off. And then you got people who are putting the physics in the game so that everything's coded, so that when you shoot, it actually shoots correctly, and the hitboxes that are developing around all the characters, and so that everything works together and moves and talks and sounds exactly like a video game should. It's insane. It's so much work, and yet so crazy cool at what these guys are able to pull off. So lots of careers that for this area of the industry. Some general game knowledge to know. Again, just trying to cover everything with video games here. And these are some terms that you might hear if you're not a gamer in the day-to-day, and stuff you just need to know to be educated to be amongst gamers. Um, there are some terms that we use on a regular basis. The first is a term called alpha. It's a general software term designating the first phase of testing of software. So when a game is first coming out, they have to test it because it's not up to par, it's not ready to go as a game, and so usually they will get specific group of people to test the game and give them feedback to let it know if it's okay, and that's the alpha stage. Then the beta stage is where they release sort of a playable version of the game to certain as another larger group of people and get their feedback, trying to figure out is this game gonna be successful publicly, and then they obviously finally release it. There's open beta and there's closed beta. So like the closed beta would be to only a group of people that they chose. The open beta would be allowing anybody who wants to test it at the risk of their own system, and then when it's finally done, then they obviously release the game to be obviously bought. So general knowledge, alpha and beta stage of development of a game. Then a bug is a fault in the program which causes unintended effects, both good and bad. Sometimes games crash. You have to restart the game, restart your system that the game's on, whether it be a console or PC. And bugs contribute to problems that can happen in the game. So for instance, a character might get stuck in the middle of the map and there's no reason why. There's just like some hole in the code there, and you're running along and you get your foot and it's stuck on a rock or whatever, and you can't move, and then you get killed every time if you're in that little bug area, for instance. A crash is when the console or computer stops responding until you hit the power button, or boots itself without asking. Game servers also are known to crash, so you could be like spawning in on an online server and then all of a sudden the server crashes and you basically have to rejoin the server. So there's lots of different crashes that can happen, lots of different bugs and effects that you can have when it comes to video games. A kill streak, when actually playing a video game, is a commendation for multiple kills in one life. So if you kill multiple people, this is typical for first-person shooters or FPSs. If you kill multiple ones in one life, usually you will get some sort of um, something from the game for doing such a thing. Experience points, or XP, is a unit of measurement used in many role-playing games or RPGs, even first-person shooters, to qualify a player's progress through the game. So as the person does more projects in the game or gets to certain places in the game, you're given experience points. Or if you're playing something like Fortnite um, or another such game, you level up, so to speak, and those are experience points by the amount of kills that you might get in the game or doing some of the challenges that exist in the game. All that's known as XP, so gamers refer to it that way. Next is a checkpoint. It's a respawn point set in time, and there are a lot of times you as a gamer will get to a certain point in the game, and it's hard to get there. And so if you were to die, you'd have to go all the way back to the beginning, fully beginning of the game, and that would be insane. So they do is they set a respawn point, a point in the game where you will actually respawn and get to start over from there instead of restarting all the way back at the beginning. Respawn is similar to that, but in like first-person shooter game, for instance, it's a place where you will appear again and you get to live your life over again and go get more kills, so to speak. And it's also a place that the other team can, if you're respawning and you're reappearing in the game, obviously the game is ongoing, maybe till a timer is up or something like that, or until one team captures a certain location or something like that. There's a respawn point for a reason. An objective is what you're trying to get to. So is it you're trying to capture a square on the ground? Is it you're trying to eliminate the entire team? Is it that you're trying to drive your car to a certain location? You're trying to unlock something, you're trying to read something, you're trying to communicate with someone. Whatever it is, there's always an objective to games. Most games, some games allow you to do whatever you want, and that's the objective. But there's always some sort of a carrot on a stick that the game dangles out that you're trying to get to as a result of playing the game. There's always a point to the game, in other words. Even some of the games, though, they do kind of break that down, but usually there's an objective. A buzzkill or killjoy is stopping a kill streak before it happens. So it's exactly as it sounds. Someone else gets a kill streak and you kill them. So it's a buzzkill. HUD is the heads up display. It's usually something that you have on screen, so your character might have, how much life it has left, or maybe it has some sort of information about the game you're playing on screen overlaid on top of the actual what you're seeing in the game. DLC is downloadable content, and that just refers to anything that's downloaded, and sometimes we'll use those acronyms as gamers. This is one of my favorite games. Go check it out. I will link this trailer down in the description. It's for Overwatch 2 that's coming out soon. And hopefully this information was helpful. That's really just a brief overview of consoles and gaming and things that are associated with gaming that I haven't covered so far. So hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video.